Okay, Statistica came out with a list of countries. They actually had 20 on here, and they were the 20 countries with the ranking of the most dangerous countries in the world in 2023 by murder rate per 100,000 inhabitants. Now, again, this is not the total number of people that were actually killed in that country. This is per 100,000 people, okay? Now, St. Kitts was, again, rated #1. And I'm going to go through and explain to you, I'm going to actually start from the very bottom on these countries and then move up from there. And then I'm going to give you some things at the end that'll give you a better idea on how this works. One reason I did this is I had a client that actually picked this up. And St. Kitts and Nevis has always been ranked probably in the top 15 or 10 or 15 in the world the last, I don't know how many years they've had it, but again, this is per capita, not the total number of people that were actually murdered. It's per 100,000 inhabitants. Another thing that you need to take a note of too is St. Kitts is the smallest country in the Western Hemisphere. St. Kitts and Nevis, which are two countries but one federation, is the smallest country in the Western Hemisphere, not just size of the country, but also population. So that has a bearing on this too. So anyway, I'm gonna go over this with you. Also, folks, if you can do us a big favor, we don't monetize our channel here. It would do us a big favor if you like our videos, give us a thumb up. And also don't forget to hit the subscribe button right on your screen right here. You'll get new videos automatically as they come out. And this can help our channel grow and help us in moving up on our algorithm of our channel here. Okay, now the country that was number 20 was Colombia. It had 25.7 people per 100,000 as far as inhabitants. Now, Colombia has a very, very high crime rate. In fact, I mentioned before that I knew several people that had lived in Colombia, and every single one of them who had been there for at least 5 years, they had all been robbed or either kidnapped. 2 of them were actually kidnapped, okay? In fact, kidnapping insurance is a big industry, believe it or not, in Colombia. In fact, you'll notice if you go into the Colombia airport, there's a lot of people people in fatigues with the Army carrying AK-47s, and a lot of the banks have security guards with sawed-off shotguns. It's pretty intimidating when you go there. One thing I will tell you in St. Kitts, you won't go to any banks, and you won't see any banks will have any guys with AK-47s or sawed-off shotguns. You won't have any banks that have that. Do they have security guards? Yeah, but they're not going to be carrying around stuff like that. If you go to Colombia, at the airport is just full of people with Army fatigues. It looks like you're getting ready for a war zone when you arrive there. I've never seen anything like it in my life. All right, Venezuela's number 19 here, and they had 26.8 people, or 26.8 murders per 100,000 inhabitants. Remember, Colombia and Venezuela has a lot of people too. All right, let's look at Bahamas. Bahamas has got 26.8. Brazil is next with 27.38. And then you've got, it starts moving out further from there. You're looking at St. Martin's, and we're talking about the French side, which kind of really blows my mind because I've been to the French side many times, never experienced any problems. But again, St. Martin's is a small place, not quite as smart as St. Kitts. I can almost see it on a clear day. It's just right across the waterway from Anguilla. The next one is Anguilla, which is another one, 28.34 murders per 100,000. And Anguilla, been over there many times, just as peaceful as can be. You would never know this is happening. And I'm going to tell you why this is here in a minute. I'm just going to get in a little bit more in depth on it. We're looking at Mexico is at 29.07. Now, this figure is for the whole country of Mexico. It's not for the cities. The cities, there's some cities there that have, close to 150, per 100,000. It's Tijuana's a war zone. But we're talking about countries, not cities here, okay? Next one is Honduras with 31.1 per 100,000. And Honduras actually used to be the murder capital of the road in the world, next to El Salvador. Now, Bukele's come in with El Salvador, and he's brought that down dramatically. He's made a huge change on that. Nigeria is at 34.52. South Africa, and of course, Nigeria is one of the most heavily populated country in Africa. So the crime rate there, you're a lot more likely, believe it or not, to get robbed, now, which I'm going to go through that with you here in a minute. South Africa, can you believe that? South Africa is below St. Kitts at 36.4. And South Africa's got really, really bad problems. Trinidad and Tobago used to be at the very, very top. Now it's not the very top, but it's down there a little ways. It's 37.6 per 100,000 applicants. This is how many people die per 100,000 inhabitants. Let's say inhabitants. Belize is 37.79. Haiti, believe it or not, is below St. Kitts at 40.9. Now, again, Haiti's got a very high population count. And again, I'm going to explain to you that here in a minute. So you really can't compare it with Haiti. St. Lucia is another one. St. Lucia, you wouldn't believe it, but it's got one of the highest murder rates in the world per capita, not per person that dies there. It's per capita, okay? But St. Lucia is a very small island too, not quite as small as St. Kitts, but it's at 41.7 murders per 100,000. Next one is Lesotho, which is in Africa, at 43.56. Ecuador is 44.5. Ecuador has pretty heavy crime, especially in Quito. Turks and Caicos Islands, you would never know that. I've been to Turks and Caicos many times, very peaceful beaches. It's 46.6 people that get killed per 100,000 inhabitants. St. Vincent and the Grenadines, which is another Eastern Caribbean Union country, at 50.1. Jamaica's at 60.9. St. Kitts and Nevis is 65. Okay, now let me go through this with you on why the ranking of the most dangerous countries in the world in 2023 by murder rate 100,000 inhabitants, Statistica named St. Kitts and Nevis number one. Well, first of all, St. Kitts and Nevis, let me just tell you my situation. I've been in St. Kitts for almost 18 years now. I've never had anybody come up and try to rob me. I've never had a robbery where somebody's broken into my house. I've never, in fact, you could probably put on one hand how many people have actually begged me for money. I would say St. Kitts and Nevis probably has the lowest begging rate of any country I've been to in the world, okay? And you got to remember, I live in St. Kitts, so it's not like I got a choice to move out if I want to. But this figure of 65 per 100,000, and I don't doubt it, okay? Excuse me, per 100,000 inhabitants. But the point I'm trying to make is this right here. I don't see it. I don't hear guns being shot, bullets going by me. I don't have, and I'm going to tell you why it's not going to be apparent that you're ever going to run across this. In fact, the 18 years I've been here, I don't know one person that came in with citizenship and investment or an expat that came in that's been shot or robbed. Okay, and I'm sure this probably has been. Usually when stuff like this happens, it's all over the newspaper. I don't see any of this at all. So this is another thing that I try to bring out to people, is the fact that this figure is high. Now, why is this figure per 100,000 inhabitants, why is it so high per capita? Well, I can tell you why, okay? St. Kitts and Nevis has a problem with drugs and gangs in St. Kitts. They've had this for years, okay? I've never run across it. It's like in another dimension because I don't see it. I don't run across it. I don't have bullets going by me, someone trying to rob me. But St. Kitts most of their crime is all in drug trafficking and gangs. Okay, now, if you took all the murders out that were involved with gangs or drugs and stuff like this, you could probably, in other words, if you could subtract all the murders that occurred because of this, you would have this rate, no joke, it would be close to zero. Now, this is the key. If you're coming to St. Kitts and you're not involved with selling illegal drugs, and you're not involved with gang activity, stuff like this, your chances of experiencing this is it's close to zero. Okay. In fact, one year they used to publish at the end of the year all the people that had been murdered, and they used to publish their names and everything. And it used to run anywhere from about I'd say 20 to maybe around. Last year was real high, probably one of the highest. And if you look at this sheet right here too, this is 65 they listed here. I'm assuming the records are correct here. 65 per 100,000 applicants. Remember, St. Kitts has got 40,000 people in the country, thereabouts, and Nevis has got 10,000. The total is 50,000. So we're looking at per 100,000 applicants, and St. Kitts and Nevis don't have 100,000 applicants. So you just take this figure of 65 and divide it in half. We had approximately around probably 32, 33, right in there, people that have been murdered for last year, 2023, okay? But again, all of this, like I said, I would say probably 99% of it was probably involved, maybe 100% were involved with drugs or gang activity, which, like I said, it's like in another dimension. You'll never see it, okay? And one of the reasons you don't see it, most of these crimes occur in two areas. They occur in either a place called McKnight or in Newtown. Now, it is sporadically, it is different places, but usually if you concentrate and look at where, if you go back for the last 10 years, where most of the murders occurred is in those two areas. I've been in those areas at nighttime. Maybe I shouldn't be, but I've been in those areas at nighttime, never had a problem. Never had somebody rob me. The worst thing I think I've run across is I saw a guy smoking some pot on the street corner one day, and that was at nighttime. I've never run into anything other than that. Of course, marijuana is legal to a limit in St. Kitts for personal use. I got other videos on that. But anyway, that's probably the worst I've ever seen, if you can call that worst. But now, somebody might say, well, can they come out with a Bukele type system? You probably heard of Bukele in El Salvador. He came in and literally changed the whole landscape on gangs and drug trafficking. He literally almost brought the crime rate, drug trafficking problems, and with gangs almost to zero. I mean, he literally. But to do that, you're going to have a Bukele to bring someone in, or have someone in here to consult with Bukele and have a system like that. Okay, could you get 60 or get 32 murders in 1 year down to zero? Yeah, I think it's possible. What could you do? St. Kitts and Nevis could get the army. See, St. Kitts and Nevis is never in wars. That's one thing that's neat about St. Kitts and Nevis versus the U.S. U.S. is always in wars. You can't go 20 years past and not see a war that the U.S. is involved with. St. Kitts and Nevis are never in wars. Okay, so they got an army that could be implemented where they go right in those two areas I mentioned. Newtown, McKnight, and then sporadically these other areas maybe that have been hit. But the key is, does the population want it? Maybe they do want it, okay? And maybe it would be brought to zero, and people would say, hey, whatever prime minister did, he's a hero, like Bukele went through, okay? Bukele's got a 93% approval rating, and I think what he's done is phenomenal. They had a monster of a problem in El Salvador. I mean, it was the drug trafficking murder rate capital of the world for years, year after year after year. It would go back and forth with Honduras, is who would be number one, and El Salvador usually would beat Honduras. Now, Honduras, I've noticed, has come down the track here a little bit. They're not as bad as they used to be. But the key thing is do you really want a system where people are going to lose, some of their rights? Because Bukele did have to do that. But I still applaud what he did, because it got so bad there. They had a real problem with gangs doing all kinds of corruption on payoffs all over the country. People are paying for protection. That's getting way out of hand. when you got to do that. We've never had that in St. Kitts, okay? I've never seen any sort of problem with paying off protection, going to businesses and doing all kinds of extortion type things to get people to pay off for protection. Never had that in St. Kitts. If they have, I've never seen it at all, okay? But El Salvador was a real problem with that. I mean, they were shooting people for not paying for their protection fee. It was real bad. And Bukele went in and basically, if you had a tattoo on your butt or on your arm or nowhere, anywhere else they could see it, man, you better not be around Bukele, because they were taking almost anybody and arresting them. They were arresting them and then finding out if they were guilty later. But I'm going to tell you this, everybody in the country applauded, because guess what happened? The homicide rate, the gang rate, the theft rate, everything started to implode, and to where it was almost zero. Now the question is there a hybrid maybe that St. Kitts could do? I don't see really a problem here. Okay, I see this figure. Okay, I'm not blind. I'm not saying this figure's wrong. I think it's correct. But could the government maybe do some things? Well, they did. In fact, Prime Minister Harris had, my understanding was, I read the newspaper, I think this is correct, he has some sort of arrangement where they employed they had a truce between the gangs, they employed some of them, and the murder rate dropped dramatically. This was during the COVID-19 area. I mean, it plummeted, okay, especially during COVID-19 when you couldn't get out and do anything. Could they do that again? Yeah, I think they could maybe try that again. I heard that stopped or something. I could be wrong, but I had heard that it stopped, okay? Could they get the army in these areas? Yeah, that's something else that might be able to help. To go in and just start arresting people for having a tattoo or smoking a weed, I don't think that, I don't think they're at that point where they need to do that, because St. Kitts is not like El Salvador. It never has been anywhere close. I haven't seen anything with extortion. I haven't seen anything where you got gang activity that's very open. I don't see it. Okay, I've been here 18 years. Okay, and if I didn't see this figure, I wouldn't even know there was a problem here. Okay, but the point I'm trying to make is the fact that when you see these figures, it's because St. Kitts is a small place. If you get one person that gets murdered, it balloons out in a country that only has 50,000 people. Okay, and you're going to have it exasperated if you have gangs and you've got drug trafficking. Okay, now could it get better? Yeah, I mean, I saw some stuff done with before where they worked out something with the gangs before. I think that turned out pretty good. I think there's other things it could do. I don't think you have to do a Bukele system here in St. Kitts. Okay, I don't. It's nowhere close to where it was in El Salvador before Bukele came in there. I did not feel safe about going there because I knew those rates were high, but I mean, their murder rate was in the thousands, man. It was ridiculous. Of course, their population was higher too. But when you look at this, and you remember, St. Kitts was not the only one on here. Peaceful St. Lucia was on here. Okay, I've been to Belize many times. Belize is very peaceful. It's on this list too. Okay, I mean, there are other countries too that are on this list that. Another big expat destination place is Mexico. Now, Mexico, if you take the cities and take the per capita on the cities on homicide rate per 100,000, it ain't 65 per 100,000. They got some that are like around 150. I mean, it's like triple these figures that you see here. It's through the roof. Now, there are other places in Mexico that are, pretty nice, okay? But Mexico is on this list here that I just read out. I mean, it wasn't at the very, very top. But the reason is Mexico has a huge population, and that's what keeps it down low. But if you're in certain cities like Tijuana, there are other places too on the border, it can be really, really bad. I mean, there's like a war zone in some of these places. And they also have a lot of kidnappings. I don't know if anybody, I'm sure there's been kidnapped in St. Kitts. I'm sure there's been. I don't remember any time there's been a kidnapping in St. Kitts, or Nevis for that matter. But, you've got to, I think the thing you need to do is if you're thinking about, vacationing St. Kitts, I don't see you going to have a problem. I don't know in 18 years, any expat that's been robbed, any expat that's been shot. I'm sure maybe it's happened. I just haven't seen it. And I will tell you this: several years ago, they published um, the the people that got killed. In fact, I got off on a tangent, forgot to mention this. All the names of the people that had been shot and killed, every single one of those people, I think there were like maybe 25 in that year, they all had middle names. One of them was called Capone, as Al Capone, So, this guy was involved with drug trafficking. And so, most of them all had a nickname and it was like a gang name. Okay. So, and remember, gangs don't, when someone doesn't pay off someone that owes money that belongs to a gang, they don't take that person to court. The court is basically taking a gun out and shooting the guy. Okay. So this is why you see so many problems with the homicide rate in St. Kitts. But I don't see this being a problem. But are there things maybe the government could do to get the 65 per 100,000? Of course, it was only like 32 for the year. Get that figured out? Yeah, I think they could. I mentioned two. One is to have, again, to do what they did before when Harris was in office. And I'm not endorsing Harris. I'm not saying anything. I think Dr. Drew's done a good job too. I'm just saying that I think that there are other things that that the country could do. Okay, that maybe they're not trying now, and one of them might be using the Army. Institute that. So, but I think as a whole, on both parties have done an excellent job. I think you can find faults with both of them. I mean, nobody's going to be perfect when they come into St. Kitts, but I will tell you this: one thing I like about St. Kitts that both parties agree with, both parties don't want to change. No income tax, no capital gains tax, no estate tax, no inheritance tax, a property tax that's as low as 0.20% of what you're buying, with a $29,600 US exclusion before that 0.20% kicks in. Your property tax, folks, in St. Kitts is almost zero. Okay, and I'll be honest with you: when you have all of those good benefits, and you're not seeing all this stuff that I see published on this Statistica, I still put St. Kitts as one of the best places in the world to live. If you're a libertarian and you don't like socialism, to me, they've got the best laws in the world. No place that you're going to go is going to be perfect. But I'll tell you this: if you look at across the board, St. Kitts has everything that a libertarian wants. And that is dual citizenships allowed, no military requirements. Again, the tax laws are phenomenal. I mentioned to you all the taxes they eliminated. And, the great thing is, it's a free country. And I don't see this in a lot of places in the world. If you want to know more on this, go to our website, www.citizenshipquickly.com. If you want to legally get around high income taxes or how to get a second passport as quick as 4 to 8 months, and I would like to hear from you. If you got a question or comment, just put it below. And again, folks, you can help us a lot if you give us a thumbs up. If you like our videos, it helps in the algorithm of our channel. And also, again, if you want new videos automatically, hit the subscribe button right on your screen here, and you'll get these automatically as they come out. And again, our website's www.citizenshipquickly.com, and just ask for some help. And there's a WhatsApp number right on the screen here, and I look forward to talking to you in the next video. Take care.